in invoking a century-old and little-known law known as the Rule of Five to compel the Department of Justice to release the full and complete Epstein files.
Señores, mientras los tambores de la rendición de cuentas cada día suenan más fuerte, mientras emergen nuevas pruebas y mientras Trump sigue tropezando en cada entrevista incoherente, hay algo que ya nadie puede ignorar, y es que el escándalo de Epstein está lejos de morir. Es más, podría llevárselo por completo. Mientras Trump se hunde, los demócratas en el Congreso están comenzando su movimiento. En esta ocasión, señores, lo que se viene, para muchos, podría ser la última jugada para finalmente liberar estos famosos archivos de Jeffrey Epstein. Primero quiero que empecemos viendo el último desliz de Donald Trump.
About President Trump's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The president is now accusing Epstein of stealing young women who work at the Mar-a-Lago spa, and that includes Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane reports.
Returning from Scotland, President Trump offered more details about his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein.
We took people that worked for me, and I told him don't do it anymore, and he did it, and I said, stay the hell out of here.
Among those who Trump says was poached or stolen from Mar-a-Lago was one of Epstein's most outspoken victims, Virginia Giuffre.
I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her.
According to her family, Giuffre died by suicide earlier this year. But in a 2020 interview with Gayle King, she said it was Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, who approached her at Trump's South Florida resort.
I finally got my life together for the first time off the streets, and I'm working at Mar-a-Lago. I was reading about anatomy and massage, and that's when Ghislaine came up to me.
Giuffre called Maxwell the mastermind behind the sex trafficking operation.
She is a monster. She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious. She was evil.
Maxwell was convicted in 2021 of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls and is serving a 20-year prison term. On Tuesday, her lawyer notified a U.S. House panel she'd agreed to their request to sit for a deposition about Epstein, but she asked for the questions to be provided in advance and for congressional immunity. The House committee spokesperson said Maxwell will not be given immunity.
For a second day in a row, Maxwell's defense lawyer also spoke openly about the possibility of a pardon for Maxwell, saying if she was given clemency by the president, she could speak immediately and fully to that House committee. The president has not ruled out the possibility of a...
Interesante, que va a indultar a Maxwell. Esa parece ser la gran pregunta del momento, ¿no? Una pregunta incómoda para Trump y al mismo tiempo que desespera a sus aliados. Para el congresista Jimmy Gómez, la respuesta no puede esperar. En CNN se fue con todo y llamó a Trump por lo que es, un hombre envuelto hasta el cuello de un escándalo de explotación.
About Jeffrey Epstein and the moves going, everything that's kind of swirling about this, especially in Congress. We're waiting now to hear more from the House Oversight Committee to kind of more fully respond to the demands set by Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney in order for her to testify before Congress. You want the Justice Department to release the files that they have. Do you also want to see her testify before Congress if it means agreeing to the demands that have been set forth?
Absolutely not. I think, one, I do want to see the files, but that's because Donald Trump and the Republicans promised those files to their base. They said they're going to be the most transparent administration in U.S. history, that they were going to drain the swamp, they were going to go after the elites. They did none of that. They started backing away, and it was their own base that pushed back. So I want people to understand we want those files because we want to make sure that we hold this administration accountable. At the same time, when it comes to Maxwell, if she comes to testify before Congress, she knows she only has an audience of one. She wants a pardon, or she wants to basically get her sentence commuted. So her audience is basically Donald Trump. And if she has no legal threat that anything she says, if she's lying to Congress, is not going to get her in trouble, but she can actually curry favor with Donald Trump and get him to look good, then she's going to be let off. She's a known liar, so I wouldn't say that she's a innocent bystander or trustworthy witness. So I think we don't need to see her. I want to just see the files, and they should release them right away.
One other thing that's happened is we have the president's kind of evolving explanation or new explanation of what led to the falling out that he had with Jeffrey Epstein years ago, telling reporters that Epstein, quote unquote, stole employees and stole young women who were working for Donald Trump at his spa in Mar-a-Lago. One of them, the president says, was Virginia Giuffre, likely the most well-known of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's pretty disgusting. Number one, nobody owns an employee, and no one owns a young woman. So if he's saying that a known, somebody who had relationships with young women, he knew that he liked young women, that he stole her, then he knows more than he's leading on. So I think that's something that is absolutely disgusting, and I think that's why the American people want to know his real relationship. Somebody who denied having a relationship, then that wasn't that close, but then he's sending them notes and doodles. So that's kind of the stuff that I think why the American people kind of say that none of this smells right. Everything is just fishy. And I think that's why people want to know what was his real relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Y mientras todo se hace más evidente, los demócratas en el Senado decidieron dar un paso concreto. No más rodeos, no más evasivas. Quieren los archivos. Y lo quieren todos. El líder demócrata del Senado, Chuck Schumer, anunció junto a otros 7 demócratas del Comité de Seguridad Nacional que van a activar una medida poco, pero muy poco conocida y muy poderosa, conocida como la regla de los 5. Según esta norma, de hace más de un siglo, si 5 miembros del comité lo solicitan, cualquier agencia ejecutiva, incluyendo al Departamento de Justicia y al FBI, obligadamente tienen que entregar toda la información solicitada y relacionada con su jurisdicción. Lógicamente, eso incluye todos los documentos, todos los archivos, todas las pruebas, todos los materiales que posean sobre el escándalo de Jeffrey Epstein. Según Schumer, no es un truco, es algo simbólico, es un ejercicio formal de poder congresional bajo la ley federal. Pero bueno, escuchen ustedes.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's 10 minutes into the afternoon. And I want to thank our great ranking member of HISGAC, Senator Peters, and a great member of HISGAC and head of PSI, Senator Blumenthal, for joining me. And this morning, I was really proud to join every single one of my Democratic colleagues on the Homeland Committee in invoking a century-old and little-known law known as the Rule of Five, to compel the Department of Justice to release the full and complete Epstein files. Under federal law, when any 5 senators on the Homeland Security Committee call on the executive branch must comply. Our request covers all documents, files, evidence, and other materials in possession of the DOJ, the FBI, related to the case of United States versus Jeffrey Epstein. While protecting the victims' identities can and must be of top importance, the public has a right to know who enabled, knew of, or participated in one of the most heinous sex trafficking operations in history. Let me remind everyone of what's happened in recent months. Donald Trump campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. He broke that promise. In February, FBI Director Kash Patel promised during sworn testimony in his confirmation hearing he would, quote, make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened. Well, that has yet to happen. A.G. Bondi said in February that a supposed, quote, client list, she said, was sitting on her desk right now to review. And she said that's been a directive by President Trump. 5 months later, we have 0 answers, only more questions. What have we gotten since? Stonewall, evasion, lies. Trump was asked earlier this month if he had ever been informed whether or not he was mentioned in the Epstein files, and now we know he lied. He said no, but in fact he was told by the Attorney General in May that he was mentioned. And when the House had an opportunity to take votes on the Epstein files, Speaker Johnson skedaddled out of town, launching the Epstein recess. This is not complicated. After promising full transparency for years, every single time Trump, his administration, Republican leaders have had a chance to be transparent about the Epstein files, they've chosen to hide. The evasions, the delays, the excuses, they are not just odd, they're alarming. It begs the question, if there's nothing to hide, why all the evasiveness? Trump should stop hiding from the truth. He should stop hiding from the American people. So today, Senate Democrats took action. We're invoking federal law and using our authority as a check on the executive to compel transparency. That's why today's letters matter. Today's letter matters. It's not a stunt. It's not symbolic. It's a formal exercise of congressional power under federal law. And we expect an answer from DOJ by August the 15th. That's what accountability looks like. This is what oversight looks like. And this is what keeping your promises to the American people look like. I urge my Republican colleagues in the Senate, if you believe in transparency, if you believe Congress has a role to play in checking the executive, join us. Join us in calling for more transparency on the Epstein files. Because once there's transparency, the truth emerges. Because once we get the truth, we can have accountability, we can move forward, not just on this, but on many issues affecting the American people, protecting health care, growing the middle class, defending democracy. But none of that is possible if the public loses faith that justice only applies to some, not all. Senator Peters has taken a great lead on this issue as ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, and I'm proud to call on him to speak.
Thank you, Chuck.
Pues mientras el Senado toma acción, la Cámara de Representantes parece también haber entrado en una recesión Epstein. O bueno, así fue como lo llamó Schumer, ¿no? Luego de que el presidente Mike Johnson suspendiera anticipadamente la sesión legislativa cuando los demócratas comenzaron a forzar estas votaciones sobre el tema. Frente a toda esta presión creciente, los aliados de Trump han encontrado este posible comodín, y ese es Ghislaine Maxwell, la cómplice convicta de Epstein, que ya se ha reunido en secreto 2 veces con el vicefiscal general de Trump y con la Comisión de Supervisión de la Cámara, que planea interrogarla el próximo 11 de agosto. Eso sí, hay un gran obstáculo, y es su abogado, que advirtió que no va a testificar a menos que reciba garantías, o sea, un indulto presidencial. Y Trump, como era de esperarse, ¿no?, se niega a descartar públicamente esa opción.
Gathering earlier today, President Trump was asked whether he would consider a pardon for convicted sex trafficker and Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Here's what the president had to say.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk.
Así es, amigos, lo escucharon bien. Donald Trump no ha dicho que no piense indultar a la mujer que ayudó a reclutar, a manipular y abusar de menores para uno de los pedófilos más infames del planeta. Pues al parecer en el Congreso aún hay quienes todavía tienen esa valentía de llamar las cosas por su nombre. Pero al parecer en la Casa Blanca, el silencio apesta a complicidad. Y si los demócratas es que logran forzar esta publicación, tal vez, solo tal vez, finalmente podemos ver el tamaño real de este encubrimiento de Trump que ha estado protegiendo todo este tiempo. Porque recuerden, amigos, no se trata solo de Epstein y de Trump. Se trata del poder, del abuso, del encubrimiento, de un presidente que parece estar dispuesto a hacer lo que sea, con tal de no caer, aunque ya está cayendo. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerda, como siempre, darle like, comparte el contenido y suscríbete al canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video.